couple of months ago, I decided I needed a new violin. I had some upcoming projects where I was going to be recording outside in some hard-to-reach areas, kind of like this, and I didn't want to bring my really nice violin along. Now, I knew I would need a good quality violin that would sound good, but was also affordable, so I started the search for a new violin. When you're looking for a new violin, the first thing you want to decide is your price range. There's really no limit as to how much you can spend on a violin, so it's good to have a range in mind before you start looking. So I knew that $1,500 to $2,000 would get me a pretty good quality violin that would fit my budget and would perform well with the types of projects I had planned. When you're thinking about upgrading, if you have a local string shop or a luthier, that's a great place to start. Stop by and try their violins and see what they have to offer. Now, I don't usually recommend general music stores because you want a shop that specializes in stringed instruments. But depending on where you live, a specialized string shop is not always an option. For me, there weren't a lot of shops in my area, so there weren't very many options in that price range. And when you're spending that kind of money on a violin, you want more choices than just one or two violins. So I started looking online. Now, the same rule applies to online violin shopping. Avoid the stores that sell every musical instrument possible and focus on the ones that specialize in violins or other stringed instruments. Now, I've had good experiences with Fiddler Shop before, so I started browsing their violins. They have a lot of options in that price range, specifically their Holstein line of violins. And what I love about Fiddler Shop is that they make comparison videos of specific violins for their customers, and they post those videos on YouTube, which means you can search for just about any violin that they have and hear that violin being played and compared to other violins. This lets you do a lot of research and listening before you move on to the next steps of purchasing a violin. Now, Fiddler Shop has this nifty little chart for all of their Holstein violins that shows the sound characteristics of each violin. This is a handy chart, but you don't want to use it exclusively to make a decision. When I first looked at this chart, I had one violin in mind that I thought I would like, but as I started listening to violin comparisons, I realized it didn't have the sound characteristics that I needed for my projects. And as with everything on violin, base your decision on sound, not on looks. So I watched just about every video they had comparing their violins in my price range, and the members of my Meadowlark Violin Studio helped me compare violins and offer their thoughts. And I eventually decided to do an in-home trial between the traditional Swall Stradivarius violin and the traditional Kreisler violin. Now, at this point, I could have asked Fiddler Shop to make my own comparison video for the specific violins I selected, but my projects were coming up, so I decided to save some time and just do an in-home trial. Both of these violins were very lovely. The varnish and the finishes were beautiful, the pegs worked well, the hardware was good quality, but these two violins sounded very different. The Swall had a warm, intimate quality. It was almost as if the violin created this little aura of sound like a cloud around me. On the other hand, the Kreisler was brighter with a little more focused sound, and I think because it was brighter, it felt like it had more immediate response. And playing it actually reminded me a lot of my really nice violin. And I knew I'd be playing and recording a lot outdoors, so I wanted something with that clear projection. The Kreisler is bright and has that really good projection that I wanted, but it also still has a complex sound and some warmth to keep it balanced. So I decided to purchase the Kreisler. And since you know I like to name my violins, I named him Merriweather. I've been playing Merriweather exclusively for the past few months, and I have thoroughly enjoyed playing this violin. I've taken him to some pretty remote recording locations, and he has played extremely well in all sorts of environments. Here's a few samples. have made a few changes to the violin. I had Whitner geared pegs installed, and that's something that Fiddler Shop can actually install for you before they ship it to you if you choose, and I definitely recommend that. It makes tuning so much easier. And I also changed out the chin rest, which is a very personal choice, and if you want more information on choosing the chin rest for you, I'll link that below. And I've also been experimenting with different strings. The Kreisler came with Vision titanium strings, which I think match this violin pretty well, but I've been trying a few other different string sets to see if I could find just that perfect set that could match my playing in the violin. So that experiment is still ongoing, so make sure you subscribe so you know when I come to some conclusions on strings. Now, this violin does not come with a case, so I purchased a separate case. And if you want to know how this case saved Merriweather from almost certain destruction, I've got a link below that will tell you all about that near disaster. But to sum it up, this case has passed the hydraulic squeeze test with flying colors. So overall, I think this is a phenomenal violin for the price. If you're thinking about buying a violin in this price range, I would encourage you to look at all of the Holstein line of violins. If you want something warm and rich sounding and intimate, the Swal is a great choice. For something brighter that has a complex tonal palette, you can't go wrong with the Kreisler. Now personally, I love that projection and that bell-like resonance, but some people might prefer a little bit less brilliance and a little bit more warmth. And while I haven't personally played the David violin, it seems like a mixture between the Swal and the Kreisler. And I have some students that have the David violin and they absolutely love it. Check the description below to learn more about these violins. And if you have one of these violins or you're thinking about buying a new violin or upgrading, let me know in the comments below. I'm Laura from Meadowlark Violin. Happy practicing.